Hello everybody, it's Keith. Help support the Northeast scene and declare yourself a member today. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or your podcast medium of choice. Rate us and leave a review. Every little bit helps. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It has every podcast episode plus other exclusive content. Like and leave a comment. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at TheNEScene. Also, continue to write us at northeastscene@gmail.com. We want to share your experiences as well. And now, here's the show.
I'm stupid, you're smart. I was wrong, you were right. You're the best, I'm the worst. You're very good looking, I'm not attractive.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Northeast Scene Podcast. This is Keith.
And Tommy.
And we're back with another new episode. No reruns in this show. No matter what happens, we're here every Monday night. And tonight on the show, James Aloisio and Ian Gilchrist of Ends of Sanity. They have a self-titled EP that came out in January of this year. And Tommy, we just caught wind of it, and boy, this thing is good. I've been listening to it a lot over the past few weeks, and this is one of those hardcore releases that, Tommy, do you do this? Like, when I listen to a hardcore band, I imagine the show, I imagine people windmilling and spin kicking through the air, I imagine myself singing along and jumping off stage, and then I get the rush feeling down the back of my spine. I get that when I listen to this EP, and it's good.
Yeah, I do absolutely picture stuff like that. Whenever I listen to anything, especially heavy stuff, I try to picture the band live.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually was able to put that together. There's that band that's on Southern Lord, Shabalba. It starts with an X. They put out something on Southern Lord not that long ago, and Sonny from Hate 56 just released a live video of them. It's everything I expected it was going to be. It's fucking unbelievably heavy and people beating the shit out of each other. But yeah, no, I like that the EP starts with, I think it's a heavy band, but they have a very, like, not like PMA kind of like positive mindset, like stay straight kind of stuff, right? But they start out with that clip from Rocky Balboa.
Yes.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, that's the same sample from End of the Ocean.
Yes.
The one they use live.
Yep.
I want to watch that movie now. I've never seen it.
It's pretty good, man. For being like, you know, what is it, the sixth or seventh one or whatever it is in that sequence of
sixth.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good movie. It's not like a great Rocky movie, like, yeah, but it's a good movie.
I think it's a course correction. It's supposed to be better than 5 for sure.
No, 5 was so terrible though. I hated that one. That was the Tommy Gunn one.
Yeah.
That one got really sad because it was like, that was like the, they had like the fake Don King character in that one. Remember that?
Yeah. And it was kind
of
of cool that it was just like a street fight at the end though.
I'll sue you for everything you have.
Touch me and I'll sue. Sue me for what?
Sue me for what? Yeah. I think that's another thing with bands that have that heaviness that goes along with them. There's also that, and I don't think it's positivity. I think a lot of it comes out of just like, there's a mindset of perseverance. Like, this is the whole idea behind a lot of that type of hardcore is like, this shit is heavy and it's rough, but the idea is that we use hardcore to get through something. Like, music is an outlet that allows us to kind of go through things that normal people would kind of crumble under, and we can kind of use music as a crutch to kind of drive us along through shit that sucks.
Oh yeah. I've really leaned on music through some of the hardest times, and I'm glad I'm listening to a lot more of it now that I'm getting back outside, because I fell off for a minute. And yeah, I remember getting out of detox and just listening to record after record after record. Like, that's how I filled the time, and, you know, just plunging myself into depths of emotion with different records to make myself feel things. And I still do that. I listen to the lo-fi hip hop channel when I work now.
Oh, that one you sent me is so good.
Oh yeah. Laffy. That guy is great. I don't remember. I think the record's called A Day at a Time, the latest one. We'll throw a track on the playlist, folks. We have a Spotify playlist where we put all the music we mentioned on the show and all the guests so that you can check it out. So make sure you do that. And, well, Tommy, how are you doing? What's going on?
I just finished my first full day of school with kids in the building from 7:45 until 3:45. So
you're back in school from the COVID scare.
Yeah.
That's good.
I went back on Friday. The vast majority of the kids weren't there Friday. They had to have a negative COVID test to come back. Most of the kids weren't able to get it done in time. Most of the kids did get it done over the weekend, so they came back. I only think I had 4 or 5 absences today in my class. So yeah, most of the kids, the majority of the kids are back in school. Today was Kelly's first day back at work.
Oh.
So that was an emotional one for her. She was really upset because not only did she go back to work, but that meant the baby went to daycare for the first time.
How did the baby handle that? Because the baby is very attached to the mother.
She, from my understanding, now keep in mind, she has the grasp of about 15 words.
Yes.
So she can't really.
14 of those words are mama.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God. Or some variation of mommy, right?
Yeah.
So the nice part is that because my wife went back to work, my daughters went to the same daycare. So they actually went with the baby today. So they stayed at daycare today because, Kelly's at work, I'm at work, they need to go somewhere, and they don't start school until Thursday. So the baby will be in daycare full time as of now, and then the girls go back to school. So in the meantime, they're going to go to daycare. So they actually sat around and watched her all day. So they were playing with their little sister and kind of helped her get acclimated. And I said, how much was the baby crying today? And they were like, not that much. When Kelly first dropped her off, they said the first half hour that she was in the building was really rough. She was really upset. But after that, she got her hands on some toys and she got a snack in her. So she was good.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. How about yourself? How you doing?
Me, I don't know. I'm a little anxious today. It's funny. You know this, but I have no ability to relax. Like this past weekend, I'm even when I'm relaxing, I have to task list it. I was like, okay, I have 2 days in the weekend. Here's everything I have to do to have the best weekend ever. And I make this list of 10 things that I want to do. And if I don't hit all of them, I'm like, oh, I didn't do enough. It's this addict-y rush to try to do everything possible. But I hit everything in the list this past weekend. I went out and I ate with some friends. I made an attempt to hang out with another friend. He couldn't, but the attempt was made. And then Sunday night, I went out again. I played 5 different video games and made great progress in all of them. I ate good food. I watched a Bob Ross documentary that was very touching on Netflix. I recommend it. I got my favorite drink, and I only drank half of it, Tommy, and I'm having the other half right now during the show, so that's a extra surprise. You see, I only have one per week to keep it special forever.
What is it?
Joe T, half and half.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. They switched to plastic bottles, which kind of bums me out, but I found 3 glass bottles in the bodega near my house, and I purchased them, and I'll hold on to the glass bottle and dump the plastic one in there. I don't know.
I sent Keith a picture on, what was that, Saturday morning. I went to Costco. No, Sunday morning. I went to Costco.
Oh, yeah, Tommy. What big news in the world of the Northeast scene. Tommy did go to Costco with his child, or possibly children, and he sent me a picture. That's what Tommy lives for.
I bought a flannel shirt. It was $8.99. It was $9. It felt nice. It felt soft, and it felt like it was going to be warm. So in my head, I'm going that's good. I'll wear that. I have one flannel shirt that I wear to the skate park all the time, and I fall a lot in it. So it's kind of torn up on the one shoulder and then towards the back. So I was like, all right, I'm just getting another one so I can tear that one up.
That's good. It'll give you some character. So yeah, I just feel a little anxious. I feel a little bummed out because I take everything personally. I had to reach out to a couple different people today to ask for different things, and everyone said no. And I know it's not because of me, but I still take it personally. You know what I'm saying?
I get that feeling too.
Because I go out of my way to never ask anybody for anything because I don't like the rejection, and I I just imagine, like, I don't want anyone to ask me for anything. So I try not to do that to other people. So I reached out a couple times today and requests could not be met. So I was like, oh.
Especially when you don't ask for anything from anybody, when you're like, hey, I never ask you for anything. Can you do me a favor? I feel like when someone says that to me, I'm immediately like, you know what? I'm going to try my best to do whatever it is. There's a dude I work with that's constantly like never asked me for anything. And anytime I'm like, hey, I need help with this, he's like the first person to come running and be like, yeah, I got you. I'll help you move your desk. I'll help you do this. Like, and so whenever he asks for anything, I'm like, I'll drop everything I'm doing. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm helping him.
Well, that's good. That's good. See, that I go into like, I'm like, oh, see, this is why I never do this. I'm never doing this again. But I realize that's all nonsense and the world does not revolve around me and things aren't because of me. This is just circumstance. It's fine. Everything's fine.
I think I don't have anything to say. I don't know. I was going to start a sentence.
I heard you gearing up. I was like, he's got nothing. He's got nothing.
I don't know what to. I just feel bad because like I know you don't ask for a lot, so when you ask for something, it's like
no, it's fine. It's very minor stuff. But listen. Check back in with us after we speak to James because Tommy and I had quite a week last week and many difficult conversations were had, many challenges overcome, and we're going to talk about that in the last segment. But now it's time to talk to James and Ian from Ends of Sanity. Enjoy. All right, folks, we're here now with James Aloisio and Ian Gilchrist of Ends of Sanity. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're very happy to have you here. We recently discovered the EP and we are instant fans. I've been listening to it a lot over the past week or two and, we're going to get to all that. We're going to talk about some music stuff, but let's get to know each other a little bit first. James, how's it going? How are you doing today?
Doing okay. Drinking some coconut pineapple sparkling water. Just, surviving. Did a little 10-mile bike ride today, did some working out.
Oh, nice.
A little bit of work on the computer. I'm alive, so yeah.
It's good to be alive. Ian, how are you doing? What's going on?
I'm pretty sweaty. I just got done working out in my apartment's like shitty gym. It was cool. Lifted some weights, ran a mile, just kind of waited at home till my girlfriend got off work.
So do you guys both live in North Carolina?
We do,
yes. I live in Wilmington, and James lives in Winston-Salem.
I just watched a documentary that was all about Winston-Salem.
Devil You Know?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, fucked up, right?
Fucking crazy. It was like a 5-part thing on Vice, but Did you have any connection to it? Did you know any of the people that were involved in it? Did you ever was it like huge news down there?
Yes to the first part. The last part, I'm a transplant, so I spent 23 years on Long Island, New York. I moved down here about 4 years ago. So I don't really have too many deep roots out here. So like I know a total of like maybe 5 people in this entire city. But when I watched it, I kind of asked around and I'm pretty sure the dude was like kind of involved with like the punk scene around here. But I like drove by the house and shit, and kind of asked around about it. And yeah, definitely true. There was nothing exaggerated, and it's probably like the biggest thing that's ever happened in this little dinky town.
Is this a tobacco thing?
It's the story of this guy. His real name, I think, is Jonathan or James, but he went by the name Pazuzu, which was the demonic figure that everybody kind of identified in The Exorcist. That was like that little kind of thing that everybody was like, oh, it's that face that came up with the white makeup on. But essentially, he was kind of like this guy. He was a high school dropout. He was extraordinarily charismatic, and he kind of took over his mother's house. So he had people sleeping there, people living there.
Shitting and pissing everywhere.
Yeah, it was kind of a no holds barred. Like you could do whatever the fuck you want in his house. So he killed 2 people and buried them in the backyard. And it took them like 5 years to figure this shit out. There was a number of people that had reported it really early on. Like, hey, there were these rumors running around. Pazuzu killed people and put them in the yard. And the people went out there with cadaver dogs, but they had moved the bodies at that point. They were supposed to have those things, like those X-ray machines that they go over the ground with, so they can see under the first 6 or 7 layers of soil. And for some reason, they didn't have access to it, so they went out there with a search warrant, searched with the cadaver dogs, and they said, we turned up with nothing. And then the rumors kept spreading, and people kept coming forward, and eventually they went out there and started digging up the backyard, and they found that he had actually murdered. Well, him. I don't know if he actually pulled the trigger on anybody, but he had convinced, kind of like a Charlie Manson kind of thing.
Yeah,
he had
I think
convinced
that
these
was
people.
more so it.
Yeah, he had convinced these people that were kind of his followers to commit these murders.
And then he killed himself before.
Yeah, and he killed himself in jail by biting a main artery in his arm because he had filed on meth one night. He had filed his teeth down to points. But as soon as you said Winston-Salem, I'm like, shit, that was like the whole fucking thing I just watched last week.
Yeah, I mean, dude, most people have no fucking idea where it is. I mean, I would have never known this place existed until I moved here 4 years ago. But yeah, they also make it seem like a very grim, dark place. And Ian can also vouch because he used to live around here as well. But it is so not like that. It's such like a normal small town, like communal. Everybody's happy. There's not really any big issues. It's pretty safe. But the documentary makes it look like a fucking shithole.
James, you said you were a transplant from Long Island?
Yes, sir.
So how did you end up down in North Carolina?
Me and Ian were hanging out, and we were like, wouldn't it be funny if I just never went back to New York? Basically is what happened. So we were, I'm exaggerating, but we were all hanging out, and it was a time where I was just being a real bum. I mean, I had no job to go home to. I was just touring with my band, my previous band, which was called Detriment, that Ian was like kind of in as well. He would tour with us and stuff. And yeah, one day we were just like all hanging out, and we were like, wouldn't it be funny if I just like moved here? And, at the time me and Ian were hanging out a lot, and I was dating somebody from here. So we were just like, why not? And I never left. And here we are.
But then I left.
Yeah, and then Ian left. And now I'm like, fucking A, man. Like, besides the fact that I had a child, I would say Ian is the other, percentage of why I'm here.
James, were you upset when Ian left? I mean, you had just moved down there.
Legit, I was really upset. I mean, he no, I mean, yeah, it was a bummer. Ian's my buddy. Ian's probably my best friend in the state. So I was bummed, but he's down by the beach, and my mom actually lives out there. So when the world is not, apocalyptic, I pretty much go down there to the beach once a month, see my mom, see Ian, and so it's all good.
So how old is your son?
He's 3.5.
So that must be a trip. I mean, a fairly new parent.
Yeah, it's been incredibly difficult, but also has come with a lot of, lots of good times. But yeah, it's fucking hard, man. But I love him. He's awesome.
Tommy can attest. He's got 3 of his own.
Oh, geez.
Twins that are about to be 8, and then one that's about to be 2.
That's a good age gap.
It's pretty wild.
He's got a whole crew. So I'm interested in your guys' musical background. James, let's start with you. Take us through kind of your musical trajectory and some of the bands you were in, some of the genres you're into. Set the stage for us.
Cool. Okay. Ever since I was born, I mean, every home video that you watch of me and my family is like Ozzy playing on the speakers, thanks to my dad. So I was introduced to music very, very early. It was always Zeppelin, Elvis, Ozzy, and Black Sabbath. Those are the main ones that I remember. I hated all of them. I fucking hated all of it so much. Like, I remember being 12 years old and just like doing anything to get away from this horrible music. I think maybe I was around it so often, and I just didn't like have a choice in listening to it, but I fucking despised all of it. And I guess, so my dad was a drummer. He used to play in some bands, and he got me a drum set pretty early on. I think I was like 12. He would show me things like AC/DC. Pretty much anything he would play was, AC/DC, Ozzy, Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. Nothing heavier than that. But he's an extremely musical dude. So we were just always around it. And then, yeah, about 12, I started playing drums, started doing like band in school. And then at like 14, I did my first band, which was called Time Rapture. And we got that name. We went on bandnamegenerator.com and hit I think it was like a shuffle button, and it just like gave you a name, and it was Time Rapture. So it was a two-man band. I played drums and my friend Andrew played guitar. There was no singer, no bassist, but we played like a school benefit show. That was, I guess, my first show. Then shortly after, I guess I was like 15, 16. I got reconnected with a good friend of mine. His name is Abbas, who he plays drums in a band called Rule 'Em All, from Long Island. And he was in my first band called Scourge. He played drums in that band, and I sang. And then we were all like 16, and then we broke up, played a few Long Island shows, broke up, and then him and I started Detriment together, actually. Then that lasted a few years, 2012 to 2017, did a whole bunch of touring.
Was this a hardcore type band?
Yeah, the band Scourge, which I think there's like a band camp out there. There's definitely a MySpace Music. That was a hardcore band. And then Detriment was also like a metal influence hardcore band, which I've done a bunch of touring in. We went to Europe, we've done Canada, we've done some full US tours.
Wow. And how old were you when that was going on?
Detriment started when Scourge started when I was 16, and everyone else in the band was 15. Then Detriment was when I was 17 to, I guess, 22.
Wow. So you're that young and you're already touring all over the place and over to Europe.
Yeah, we did Europe in 2015, so about 6 years ago.
So what are some of the bands that got you into punk and hardcore?
My first concert ever was Black Sabbath when they were doing the Dio thing, so it was called Heaven and Hell, Motorhead, Testament, and Judas Priest at Jones Beach on Long Island. It was, I think, 2007 or 2006. And then my first like actual show I went to, a bunch of my friends that I was hanging out with at the time were like, oh, there's like a hardcore show happening and we're going to go. And it was Elysia or Elysia, whatever, however the fuck you say it. It was that band. Elijah. Oh, if they're listening, that band is horrible. That shit sucks. So it was them.
Incinerate, bro. Incinerate. Crazy song.
I've heard enough. All I heard was pretty fucking bad. But it was them, This Is Hell, Stray from the Path, Ruiner, and somebody else. I think it was This Is Hell or Stray from the Path. I think it was This Is Hell, who at the time was like the biggest band Long Island had ever had. It was their record release show. They didn't get to play though, because it got shut down for like fights and stuff. But yeah, that would have been my first hardcore show.
So Ian, give us some of your history, your entrance into punk and hardcore, some of the bands that inspired you, how you started playing guitar. Set the stage for us a little bit.
Started through playing in like the church band when I was like fucking 10 or something, playing bass, putting around up there, had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I had an older brother who would show me like bands like Reliant K and like Switchfoot, and eventually that led to like bands like Under Oath and Norma Jean, and then like the Devil Wears Prada. So I was like a metalcore kid for sure. When I was like in middle school and high school, and then I was playing in bands when I was like senior year in high school. They were really not good bands, but they were like metalcore bands or whatever. But I found there's a band called Discourse from South Carolina, and Advent from Winston-Salem, and then Foundation from Atlanta, obviously. But those three bands, I think, really kind of made me dive more deeper into hardcore, I'd say. There's more like metallic hardcore bands. Those three bands were of huge inspiration, along with like Under Oath and Norma Jean. And then I started playing in a band called Dwell when I was 18 to 22, I think it was. And I was also playing in Detriment for like what was it, James, like a year or something?
Yeah, he did. He did the last tour, and then you did a full US where we took Dwell out. I think those were both 2017. So yeah, about a year and a half.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, dude, it started like, with Christian bands and shit, when I was younger, and
Did you get into any of the Christian hardcore back in the day? Zayo and
Oh hell
Overcome
no,
and all
man.
that good stuff? No?
Nah, dude, I was not like that cool. I mean, I was also listening to like Third Day and like Chris Tomlin and shit like that. Like not even like metal bands. I had no idea. You
Like
know,
contemporary Christian rock,
yeah,
right? Like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I was listening to like 93.3. K Love, and then like eventually, like in high school, I went through that like shitty metalcore phase, like Gideon and like Hundredth, like not very good bands. And but then eventually, like I saw the light, and I think my first hardcore show was, who was it? It was Take Offense, Malfunction, a band from Wilmington called Society Sucker, and then another band called No, was it No Quarter? Yeah, No Quarter. That was like my first like legit hardcore show that I went to. I can't remember what year that was. It was scary, being like 16 and seeing dudes get beat up and just like, being this Christian kid that just had like no idea what the hell was going on. I mean, I used to wear like Toms and shit, being in that environment, going from that to that was just like a huge culture shock. I mean, dude, I was scared. And but that, I think that's what kind of attracted me, because I was like, wow, these dudes could fuck me up, and the music is awesome, and you know what? I think I'll stick around and try to play some music, try to emulate what I just heard, and that is my introduction to hardcore, I'd say.
Were you instantly grabbed by it, Ian? Because I know I was. When I went to my first big hardcore show, I was directly up front for Dillinger Escape Plan, and I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who they were. They started playing, and the place just exploded, and I was terrified for my life. People were getting pummeled. There was blood all over the floor, but I was instantly hooked. I mean, did you have a similar experience?
Dude, yeah, just that feeling of like my life could end.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, I'm sure it wouldn't have, but I was just being like, I was just scared. I was a scared kid, and the danger aspect, and then dude, the musicianship, especially like bands like Take Offense, dude. Watching those dudes play was like, holy shit, this band. I mean, like, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I don't really listen to them that often, but like watching them play, and the showmanship was like, this is awesome. Like I want to do this.
Yeah, there is something with hardcore that has like that thrill factor of like, wow, this is like legitimately dangerous. Like, there are people getting really hurt. This is fun.
Well, it's just lawless. It's like,
Oh yeah.
it's. I mean, I think everybody can agree, especially shows. Maybe I think like as things are getting more like, I'm using air quote, but like mainstream, like hardcore is definitely the biggest it's ever been right now. But I mean, how many shows have we all seen at like VFW halls where there's no fucking security? There's no one's going to be the police, it's just kind of like this lawless territory, and you're watching it. Just like, I remember that ambulances were there. My friends were getting punched in the face, and they were getting, taken away. And I was like, what is this? Like, how is this allowed to be happening right now?
I remember when I saw my brother get seriously knocked out. Like, I'm not kidding. He was out for almost 2 minutes. I mean, like, his arm shot up. He was like seizing and shit. I'm like, this is like, okay, this is real, man. This is scary. And I mean, no hard feelings towards the guy that did it. It was an accident. That was definitely like a sobering visual or experience. I mean, I can't believe I still like came back to it after that. I mean, like, any sensible person would have been like, all right, fuck this. Like, I'm going back to church. I'm not fucking doing this shit anymore. I'm going to play acoustic guitar for now on. I'm not going to like, this is bullshit.
I showed a video to a woman I work with who is absolutely not involved in hardcore at all. And I showed her a video of This Is Hardcore in Philly. And she was like, that's legalized assault. And I was like, yeah, no, 100%. You're just allowed to beat people up. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Whenever you do show people it, they're like, this is fucking stupid. And you're like, you're kind of right. I don't even know why I like this shit, but like, it looks fucking stupid, man. And
it looks stupid, but it's just so great.
Yeah, while you're in the middle of it, there's nothing. There's very few things in this world that can kind of emulate that can kind of touch that kind of feeling, that thrill of being in that moment of like, wow, this is fucking amazing, and this is also incredibly dangerous. There's not many things that can touch that.
No, for sure. One of the first shows that my band Dwell played, I think my dad was there, and like it was packed. I think I got like reprimanded at my job for not showing up for this show that we played. It was in this tiny like restaurant called New York Pizza in Greensboro. If anybody from North Carolina is listening to this knows this place, I mean, like it's kind of a joke, but I mean, like, dude, the first note, there was literally blood on our cabs. Like people were getting like annihilated, and my poor dad was there watching it. And I'm like, oh man, he's definitely not having fun watching this shit. It's so stupid, but I mean, like playing in the band and watching it unfold and people fight each other and shit. I'm like, okay, this is kind of crazy that they're doing this to my band, but I mean, whatever.
It's a very surreal feeling when you're playing and you're just watching people pummel each other, and you're like, they're doing that to my music. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. One time during a Detriment set, it was in Greensboro. I'm not going to say who it was or whatever, but I mean, dude, I saw some dude use a mic, like a weighted mic stand on somebody at, do you remember that, James? We just kept playing through it. It was like happening to the side of the stage.
It was like a brawl. It was crazy.
It was fucking crazy. I wanted to stop, but you looked at me and you said, don't stop, keep playing.
I mean, look, like if all you're going to do by stopping is draw more attention to the fight. And yeah, I remember looking at you like, don't fucking stop. Don't fucking stop. I guarantee, I mean, it was already bad, but I guarantee had we have stopped, it would have been even worse. Because, there was 2/3 of the crowd didn't even realize there was a fight going on. So I didn't want to draw attention to it. It was a big fucking benefit show. There was hundreds and hundreds of people there. I didn't want
to. That show went to shit, man. Even after that, I don't even think like Dwell didn't even get to play that show. Neither did like Jesus Peace or like Rhythm of Fear. Like everybody like went home, like hours and hours away. Like they weren't even on tour. They were just playing that one off. And we had to drive back to Long Island that night, I think, didn't we?
What happened? Did the fights shut down the show or something?
Dude, yeah. Like this venue was under new like staff. They had no idea what a hardcore show was, and there was like so many people who'd never even been to a hardcore show because it was a benefit show for.
Yeah, there was probably like 400 people there. It was a lot of.
Dude, it was more than that, James. It had to have been like, yeah. I mean, and people were getting like seriously like fucked up, and there were fights happening like outside of the venue, like just like strange like beef that I don't even know what the fuck's happening, and cops were called, ambulances were there, and I think it was during Invoke they said to like, yo, chill, and my friend Laura was like, hey, like you guys gotta chill, like stop like going so hard, and that made people want to go even harder, and then eventually they turned off the power to their set. It was very wild.
Yeah, that's like getting into a middle of a fight and going, guys, you should calm down. like that's gonna fucking work. I saw Dillinger one time, long time ago, like 99, and it was at an auto body place near my house, and somebody picked up a spare tire and started just spinning it around in the pit. And I remember the kid got on the mic and was like, hey guys, you got to stop that. And they just immediately pick up another tire and started doing it with two of them. I was like, you can't encourage it. By trying to stop it, you're making it worse. Please just let it go.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. We get this idea. Tommy and I are a little older. We get this idea that our era was the craziest and this stuff isn't really happening anymore and things have calmed down. And I have to say it's somewhat comforting in a way to hear that all this craziness is still going on somewhere out there.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Sure.
I mean, I think the only difference between your generation and ours is that most of yours is just talked about like you had to be there, and now everything is just going to wind up on Twitter. I mean, I got into shows when like MySpace was the biggest thing. So like there was, MySpace videos, YouTube videos. I mean, that was back when like people would, if there was a fight in a video, they'd still upload it. But I love hearing about things from like 2000 because I don't know, it was before the internet was really such a like negative thing, because I think the internet can be a very negative thing these days. But I like that it had this feel of like you just had to be there. Like there's no videos of it. There's no evidence it even happened. You just were either there or you weren't.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'll see a video pop up on YouTube or something like that, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a lost relic. So I seek that stuff out. Tommy, we're still trying to find video of your first band.
Yeah, I don't think it exists, or if it does, it existed, it's gone to the ages. But yeah, everything was VHS, so either somebody was up on stage or to the side of the stage with a camcorder, or there's no record of it, and
Right.
it just speaking to like how crazy those shows were. No one wanted to take an $800 piece of recording equipment in to fucking do that. Like, no one wanted to be like, yeah, I got my mom's camcorder, let me go fucking put it in harm's way. Like, it was a fucking complete risk walking in there with that, because there was a really good chance it was going to get kicked out of your fucking hand when someone went to go stage dive, or somebody was like, look at this, watch this, I'm gonna fucking plow into this kid that has the camera. Like,
Yeah, I can imagine, dude. I can imagine. What you guys say in your order? Like, how old are y'all?
39.
yeah, I'll be 40 in April.
Damn, you guys are fucking old.
How old are you guys?
I'm 25.
I'm 27.
So, gentlemen, let's talk about how you guys linked up and the beginning of Ends of Sanity. So you said you were in another band before, right? Is that how you guys met?
Well, we met just with mutual friends kind of in the area. Unless I'm mistaken, I was my friend Ryan was getting tattooed in Greensboro, and
Yeah.
Ian was just happened to be there, and we sat on a bench. And this was at the time where he would do a lot of like ninja things. So I just thought he was like a weirdo that like did weird stuff, because I was always seeing videos of him just like playing with swords really crazily, or like doing crazy shit like that. And I was just like, what is this fucking kid's deal? But we sat down and just kind of got to know each other for a bit, and then instantly became best friends forever in that very moment.
We went on tour together, I think, because of that, right? Or like you were with Heaven's Die.
Yeah, we went on tour, and that really solidified like our friendship. I just hopped in the van with Heaven's Die, and that was a time in my life where like if I wasn't on tour, I would just hop in someone else's van, or tour manage for someone, or do merch, or but yeah, we got close on that tour. And then Detriment took Dwell out on tour, and then he was basically in that band. And then basically over the pandemic, my job was non-existent. I work with bands, like I manage bands and I book bands.
You work with Good Fight, correct?
Yeah. I manage bands with Good Fight, and then I book bands with State of Mind Touring. And so, obviously that all just went away, and I was really fucking bored. And at that point, it had been like 3 years since I even picked up an instrument. So I bought a guitar, and I had some electric drums, and I just started like demoing music out. And then I texted Ian, and I was like, yo, like I'm doing this like quarantine project. I'm just like making some songs if you want to like, help me out. So asked him to be part of it. And then same with the other dudes in the band. My friend Garrett, who's the other guitarist, him and I would just like jam on the shit that I made. And then basically I just, hit him up, and then hit up Cameron, who he plays in Magnitude, and he's a fucking incredible drummer. I just pretty much hit everybody up with these demos and was like, yo, like I want to just record some music and see what happens.
So Ends of Sanity, this self-titled EP is a quarantine project.
100%, yeah.
That's amazing, because this podcast in a way became a quarantine project, because we were just going to be like, oh, we'll do it whenever we can. But we figured out how to do it remotely, and it's every week now, a different band or whoever we're talking to. So our quarantine projects have now combined, and here we are with each other today.
That's awesome. I feel like there was like a month in the beginning of quarantine where everyone was just putting out like a shitty demo that like no one ever listened to again. So I feel like saying it's a quarantine project almost makes it sound like, because to be honest, like I knew it was like wasn't bad, but I never really wanted to do a band again. I kind of felt like those days were over types of, like I was a new dad. I was really submerged in like helping other bands, and I was kind of enjoying the break of just like not having to like leave and do anything. But then I was just like, my creative side of me, I just feel like was dead, and I was just focusing on what other people's creative visions were. And so once this started, it kind of reignited something that I had been missing for a few years, and I'm glad we did it for sure.
And we are too, absolutely. James, Ian, I'm happy to report this is not just a quarantine project. I love this EP. I've had it on repeat for the past couple weeks since I discovered it, and Tommy and I were talking about this in the first segment, and I absolutely love when I discover a new hardcore release and it gets me going. I imagine myself at the show. I imagine myself like doing a spin kick through the air because I can't actually do it in real life. And I get that warm, fuzzy feeling down the back of my spine during a breakdown. And this thing is just excellent.
Thank you. That's really awesome to hear.
Thanks. I didn't write any of it.
It's not true. Ian's too humble. He wrote some of it, just not a lot of it.
It has minus the vocals, it has a very you like that band Trail of Lies? It has that same type of like heaviness to it. That's what I was when I was
some of my
listening.
friends have told me that actually.
Hey, I'll take it. Tom's a good friend of mine, and I love the band. I don't think I could sound like him if I tried, though.
I don't think many people could. When I first heard that vocal styling, I was like, "Oh my god, how do they do that repetitively?" There's no way.
Let me call him and put him on the spot and ask him.
What are some of the influences for you guys and for this record? James, let's start with you.
Admittedly, I think anytime I've really done a band, I mean, the first time was when I was, 16, and the other time was between, 17 and then like early 20s. But I was always kind of like forced into being the singer. So I never really took being the singer all that serious, especially like with my lyrics. I just never really gave a shit, to be honest. I was like, oh, this rhymes, this sounds cool, let me throw it in a song. But with this one, I kind of felt like, I had grown up a little bit. I had seen some shit. I'd gone through some stuff. I, knew dad. I've seen life as a touring guy. I've seen life on the other side of things. And I just felt like I had a lot more experiences. And so I actually was like writing lyrics first, but I was in a place where I was, just obsessed with like David Goggins, and I was listening to a ton of Hatebreed, and those things just kind of go hand in hand to me, like when running or something, I'll listen to like a podcast that David Goggins on, or like, a lot of Hatebreed stuff just really fucking fires me up. And like, the beginning of quarantine last March, it was like, you had to just find something to kind of like stay motivated. So for me, I had Hatebreed on all the fucking time. And then I was like, dude, I just want to make a band that kind of sounds like Hatebreed. So that was probably the biggest influence. I don't know if we did that. I've heard a few people say like it sounds Hatebreedy, but
Dude, it is Hatebreed.
All right. Well,
the good thing is it does sound like Hatebreed, but not so much that you're like, this sounds like Hatebreed. You know what I'm saying? There's that style. The breakdowns have kind of the same rhythm, but until someone said, "Oh, that kind of sounds like Hatebreed," I didn't even really think that. So it's not like a carbon copy. It's the perfect flavoring, if you will.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Jamie Jasta once said on a podcast, he said, the greatest songs have already been written, and all we can do is rip them off as best as possible. So I took his advice and ripped off his band. So I don't think he could be mad at that.
That's what you do. Like, everything's already been done. You pick something you like, you start there, and then you build upon it.
Yeah, for sure. And I made sure, like, there's like one breakdown that's really similar to a Hatebreed breakdown, but like, unless I pointed it out to you where I got it from, you probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah, when it comes to influences and bands sounding similar and that kind of stuff, I usually don't pick up on it until someone points it out, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know, I guess I just don't have that connector.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's how you have to write music. I was listening to the new Turnstile, and there's a song, it's Underwater Boy, I think it is, and it's like, nothing about it, they didn't rip off the Bad Brains like a particular song, but like the song just sounds like a Bad Brains song. But it's awesome because it's like, wow, like sounds like if the Bad Brains put out a song in 2021, this is what it would sound like. And I mean, that's pretty much every band that has been making music recently. It's I don't want to say nothing's original anymore, but like all music is now is just taking influences from someone else who has already done it and putting your own spin to it.
Yeah, straight up. Because one time I wrote a riff, and unfortunately it's a dwell riff, but I went back and I figured out that it was a a fucking recycled Devil Wears Prada riff from like their first EP. I'm like, how the fuck does this even happen? I don't even listen to this shit. And it like sounds just like it, and it was kind of a bummer, but whatever.
Yeah, I with the last release I put out, when I go back and read some of the lyrics now, I'm like, oh wow, that's really good. I can't believe I came up with that. But then I'm like, oh, I just completely took that from this and I didn't even realize it. It's like a subconscious thing. It just buries itself in there and then it comes out.
I got a story about that.
Oh yes, hit us.
Go.
Is this what Mike Marley did?
Yeah. So when Detriment was recording our demo, it's not called demo for some reason, but our first release, this was like 2011. Everything was done. I didn't have lyrics for one song, and it was like a very simple song. It's called "The World Looks Down on Me," I think, or something. Anyway, I get in the car with my friend Mike, who is the guitarist of Detriment, and I was just like, dude, I'm just like so stumped on this song. I'm just like, I don't know what to write. And he hands me a piece of cardboard with Sharpie all over it, and he's like, dude, I came up with these lyrics for this song that you've been struggling with. And I was like, oh wow, this is like fucking perfect. So I'm reading the lyrics. I'm like, damn, this is awesome, dude. So we go and record the song. And when it's done, he's just kind of like sitting at me with a grin. He's sitting down looking at me with this grin on his face. And he's just like, shaking up and down. He's a very tiny person. He weighs like 100 pounds, maybe. He's like 30 years old. But if you're listening to this and you know him, it makes a lot of sense. But he's just sitting there with this fucking grin on his face. I'm like, dude, like, what's so funny? And he's like, oh, dude, like, I didn't want to tell you this because like, it's just, they're so perfect. But like, those lyrics are actually from fucking Jesus and the Mary Chain. I just had a brain fart. But so he gave me Jesus and the Mary Chain lyrics. The song's called Down on Me. And he just wrote them on a piece of cardboard and said that he made them. So if you go and listen to the Detriment song, The World Looks Down on Me, 90% of those words are just Jesus and the Mary Chain lyrics.
Dude, I think Ridge had a band. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was Girl Puncher or some crazy shit like that. And they literally took word for word 50 Cent song lyrics and just screamed them over breakdowns.
I guess that song is a cover song. So but the crazy thing is people used to sing along to that song when we would play live and no one figured it out.
That's the great thing is there's so much music. You can take something from another genre and drop it in a hardcore song and no one will ever know. One of our good friends took Christina Aguilera lyrics and put them in a hardcore song that became like a classic song for the band. And people sing along to it. And I never knew. I would have never known if he hadn't said anything.
That is insanity.
Was this Mike?
Yeah. If I wore a mask by this day forward.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He has shared that, so it's okay for me to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I was like super self-conscious about it because I was like this 17-year-old kid and I was like embarrassed. I was like, I don't want anyone to find out. Like, this is going to make me look like an idiot. But then as I got older, I was like, this is fucking hilarious. Like, it wasn't like I was, we never made any fucking money off of that. Like, it's not like the song wound up being a hit and we were on, now that's what I call fucking music or something. But in retrospect, it's fucking hilarious. And I wish more people would do it just as a gag. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, if I ever do another band, I'm just going to take another band's lyrics. I mean, why even put in the effort?
Exactly.
I like the idea of 50 Cent lyrics over like screamy punk band. That'd be cool.
You have to go really far away in terms of genres. Like, it can't be a genre touching hardcore. So it can't be like you took punk lyrics. Like, you got to take like, I don't know, some EDM shit, like something that has like music. Vanessa Carlton there, I was going to say.
Or like Florence and the Machine or something.
There
something
you go.
Way out there. Ian, what are some of your influences nowadays? What are some of the influences that you put into Ends of Sanity?
Well, honestly, dude, like Advent. I mean, I don't know if y'all have ever listened to Advent.
No.
They sound like Turmoil. I mean, Turmoil is another big influence, I think.
Oh, we're
huge Turmoil fans.
So basically, Advent is like Turmoil with like more breakdowns. That's literally what Advent is, and so is Discourse. If you guys haven't listened to that band, I feel like they're even more of a carbon copy of Turmoil. But yeah, I'd say Turmoil, Advent. Let's see. I've been listening to like lately, like that Gridiron band. Also, a band called Sentenced from Italy.
Living Sacrifice. You know what song the Hammering Process. I go
Yes.
back to that
Yeah.
album a lot. The second song on that, I listen to that all the time.
Yeah, there's a song that is Blood Work. Shit is crazy.
Oh shit, that's the one that's I know exactly. The opening is just a fucking crushing breakdown.
Dude.
It has these really tribal Meshuggah type breakdowns. It's just
Yeah.
it gets me so pumped.
Yeah.
The dude that recorded our EP, once he opens up like an actual studio, he was going to call it the Hammering Process.
Oh, that's awesome.
He likes
I like
Living
that.
Sacrifice. That dude played in Dwell. I mean, like, he likes Advent. It's the same shit. But
But the singer of Advent, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the older emo band Beloved from Winston-Salem or Kernersville, but so they were like a tooth and nail band. They were really big when in their heyday. I mean, they toured with like My Chemical Romance, and fucking Avenged Sevenfold was like one of the first tours they did. But they're all from here around the Winston area, and Joe, who sings in Advent, he does one line on the second song, Gift of Suffering, and then he does guest vocals like with me, like alternating vocals at the end of Hope at the Bottom. The dude that sang at the end of that song sings in Advent, and he plays drums and sings in Beloved, and he's a great friend of ours.
Oh, nice. See, as is tradition, whenever I edit the episode, I love when people mention all these bands during a discussion, because as I'm editing, I go on YouTube and listen to all of them, and it's a great way to discover new bands.
Oh, dude, 100% that band and like Joe's friendship to me, like for the longest time, I fucking despised the fact that I was living here. And I just didn't realize there was like any history here with music at all. But then I started, becoming friends with Joe, and like I realized like his band was actually like pretty big. And then I found out about bands like Code 7 because of that. And between the Buried in Me and Prayer for Cleansing, also from this area. And it was like, whoa, like I didn't realize this spot was so on fire back in the day. Yeah. Definitely check those bands out though.
Glass
For
Casket,
sure.
Prayer for Cleansing. Yeah.
How about Hope's Fall? Another big North Carolina band.
Dude, I didn't know they're from North Carolina. Did you know that, James?
I did. Their last record is by far the best thing they've ever put out. I love that record.
God, it's so good. Yeah. And
that's awesome.
Ian, I love that you mentioned Turmoil, because Philadelphia absolutely loves Turmoil because they're from just outside, and they are, I would say, they're one of the more unique metallic hardcore bands. I don't think anyone has ever really sounded like them since them.
They're so good.
The Process of is just a classic.
Yeah, it was me and my brother, Isaac. He also played in Dwell. We played another band called Relinquish after Dwell, before Ends of Sanity, and that has a lot of Turmoil and Buried Alive influence on it. If you wanted to check that out, but we don't do anything with that band. That band's honestly dead, but it's a lot of Buried Alive, Turmoil.
So we've got this band, we've got this EP. Have we played any shows yet? What's going on?
No shows. We have our first show on my birthday, October 15th, and it's a benefit for Ian's lovely girlfriend. Just trying to raise some money for her. It's Magnitude's playing. My good friends in Koyo are coming down from Long Island to play. Life's Question is coming. Invoke from North Carolina is playing. And a really awesome local band from North Carolina, also Fading Signal, is playing. So it should be a good first show.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a good one. And Ian, what's going on with your girlfriend? Why are we having the benefit?
She has something called Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a blood cancer. She's had it now. I don't know how long she's had it for, but she's been doing chemo since, I want to say maybe June. Let me check. Yeah, I think it's June. It's been I think we've been pretty positive. It's been rough, but we're getting through it, and I'm super thankful for all my friends that are in hardcore, and honestly, the hardcore scene, for a while, I was just kind of like, man, I'm kind of over this shit. I kind of want to do my own thing, because I picked up fishing, and I've always liked doing martial arts, so I started focusing more on that. And then when this shit started happening with my girlfriend, we looked to the hardcore community, and it made me realize how how important it truly is, and I should stay with it. These people, they care about her, they care about me, and I care about them. and it's great. It's great to see the support, and I mean, it'll change your outlook on life. When you see a bunch of people come together and they want to help your loved one. They don't even know Hannah. I mean, like a lot of my friends that gave money have not met her, but the fact that they wanted to help was just is crazy to me.
Yeah, hardcore, more than most communities, the people are there as in terms of benefits and helping people out. It's just a really supportive community, and I've always loved that about it.
Yeah,
100%.
it is incredible. It is awesome to see.
So, how is your girlfriend responding to the treatment? Is she doing all right? How are you holding up?
Um, I think she's killing it, man. I mean, like, her lymph nodes have shrunk all the way down. They were huge. I mean, like, it was alarming when it was going on. We had no idea what was happening, and there you can't feel them anymore. And it's only been a couple months, so a lot of prayer has been gone into this, and just having hope. And she's also still like doing martial arts, which is like fucking crazy that she
Yeah,
even
that's
shows
awesome.
up to our gym, still like hits the pads hard as fuck, with like good technique. And it's just like, this is insane. Like, this girl's on chemotherapy, and there are people out there that I know that don't even want to get off the couch. Like, come on. It's sad. It's like, she's a
Dude, but
badass
she's a
for real.
badass. She's yeah, seriously. To piggyback what Ian was saying, I as a just watching the whole thing from afar and like being, just in Ian's corner and like supporting them and just like checking in, like it's been so inspiring. And anytime I'm like feeling bad for myself or anytime I'm like I feel like complaining, over the last few months, I've thought about Hannah and just been like, holy shit, like she's fucking battling cancer and like still going to Muay Thai class and she's still just trucking along and she's just like killing it and she's not letting it, stop her from living. And I just think it's so, so, so inspiring. I think it's awesome. I wish we could do more than throw her a badass benefit show, but I think the vibe's going to be really fucking cool and she deserves that at the very least.
Yeah, that is inspiring. And Ian, we're wishing Hannah and you the best of luck and the best of health for sure.
Thank you, man. That means a lot, for real.
So we have this EP out now, and it looks like you've gotten a pretty good response. I've seen some articles, some reviews, a couple interviews out there. I mean, how does it feel to put this thing together and get the response that you're getting? It must feel pretty good, right?
I'd say good. I'd say a little. I think the shared response through all of us has been a little taken back, not in like a, oh my God, this is massive, but just like, the goal was just like, hey, because when I pitched this to everybody, I was like, yo, like, I put bands on the road for like my quote unquote job. Like I have a child, Cameron is in Magnitude. Like we all just, Ridge is in Life's Question. And like, we just all have so much going on that I was like, yo, like, I don't even know about like playing shows. So like it definitely feels cool, but like, from the beginning, I kind of said like, we'll play a few shows a year, absolute max. But it definitely feels cool that, something that we all put some time into, people care about. I think like the day after it came out, someone sent me like, it said something that like it was getting good response and I was like, oh, why are you saying that? And they're like, oh, Stereo Gum did a review on it. And I was like, what? Like, why is Stereo Gum? How do they even know about this band? So it was cool. I mean, I think it's been pretty cool, considering I look at my old band like a pretty big fucking failure. So I think this one starting off like, I don't know, it's cool to feel like people aren't supporting it just because they know the people in the band, but they actually genuinely enjoy the music has been a really nice feeling.
Yeah, and it's always nice to get a little outside recognition. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I definitely like had something to prove for this band too, because like I said, it was just like, I just felt like I had it sitting in the chamber for a while, just 3.5 years of like sitting on my ass at a desk, like typing up emails for bands and making phone calls. And it was like, you know what? Like, I can still fucking do this. Like, I want to still be creative and keep that feeling alive. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely affirming, just that anybody has even listened to it. So, we've had someone's doing a Japanese release for us right now. We've had a Belgium release for it. We had obviously like the US release with vinyl, and then someone in the UK did tape. So like, yeah, I mean, the fact that anyone's even invested $1, like, I think it's an awesome feeling.
And you said your last band, it felt like a failure. Why? Why did you feel like that?
I felt like that because I don't think I was doing the band for the right reasons. A lot of times when I look back on like the tours, I mean, we did like Marauder's last tour, quote unquote, which was like pretty fucking great tour. You know, we did a lot, but I remember I can like look back on pretty much every opportunity we ever did, and I don't really remember having too much fun. And I was always kind of like, I was always the dude talking to people, so I was always like the point person. But I just, I think I was always thinking about like, how can we get bigger, or like where's the next opportunity? And like this band is just like, I'm doing it because I just want to do a band just for fun. And I don't know. I think at a young age, there's this element of like, I want to be like this band, or I want to be like that band. And so I guess it wasn't a failure as in like, people liked the band. People bought shirts, people came to the shows, but to me, it was like a personal failure because I feel like I did so much cool shit that I should have enjoyed, but I was too busy being stressed of like, oh, there's only 50 people here for my band. And I feel like, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of that.
That's really good self-reflection though. Like now that you're in another band, you can look at that and say like, I'm not going to miss opportunities like I've had before. Like that's a really excellent way to look at that.
Oh, dude, totally. I mean, I was a young fucking kid who had absolutely nothing going on in his life, and his life was hardcore. And like hardcore is still a huge part of my life, but like, I have real things to do in my life now. Like I have to take care of a child. I have to take care of my mental health. I have to take care of other bands. So, I mean, I appreciate you saying that. And I definitely implement a lot of those like, flawed outlooks on this band because I don't want it to be like that. Like we got asked to play this fucking great show in Philadelphia by Joe Harcourt. And like, I don't think we're going to be able to make it work. And like, it's all good. Like I appreciate Joe asking us, and it'd be a great opportunity, but like, I don't want to stress anybody out. Like if something's just not feasible, it's not feasible. We'll play a few shows a year. We'll have a good time with it. And that's how I want the vibe to be.
Yeah, that's great. I think like if you're involved in a project and maybe your heart isn't completely in it, or you're in it for the wrong reasons, I don't know. I kind of think that the energy you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if you're just kind of in this thing and you feel like it's not working, like maybe it's only going to go so far. But now you're in this new band and you're like, hey, whatever it is, it is, and we're going to have fun. And I think maybe that's why it's working a little better. Because I know in the past, I've been in bands like with a task in mind, like we need to do this, or we need to be this big, or I would just decide I'm going to do something like I'm going to be this now, and it never worked out. And like with this podcast, it just kind of came together naturally, and we do it because we have fun, and it's working out. So I think when you're doing things for the right reason and you're just having fun and you're doing it because you enjoy it, that's when things really work.
Absolutely. And like if I could give my younger self or a younger dude starting a band any advice, it would be like everything in life, if it's not authentic, it's just bullshit. It's not going to be enjoyable. The people on the receiving end are not going to enjoy it. And I see the kid I was in so many bands now, just where, there's these kids that start in their bands and you could tell just in the way that they're even moshing or attending the shows, it's like they're trying to prove something. They are trying to fit into a certain mold. And it's like, I just want to tell all of them like, yo, like, if you're not really like into this, or if you're not really into that, like you're going to look back one day and just be like, what the fuck was I doing? Do a band because it's what you want to do, not because you want to be cool. Like I had like a big epiphany a few years ago when I had my kid, and like I deleted my Instagram completely because I was like, I don't need thousands of people looking at my child that they don't know or acting like they care about me when they don't. I was just someone that they like, high-fived when I came through their state. But there's a lot of that in this, and I think it's just a part of growing up and reflecting and looking back and being like, shit, like I was totally looking at that wrong. So, I mean, I try and reflect a lot, so that's a huge lesson I took from younger me. And I think you're right. There was no expectations with this. It was just like, yo, I just want to put out some music and I have some shit to say and I want to put it out there. And, people like dudes have reached out to me and been like, yo, this song like helped me through the, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. That's like, I didn't aim for that to happen, but I think maybe it's relatable because it's genuine. Whereas my last lyrics were like Jesus and the Mary Chain fucking lyrics. So
People should just have kids or a hobby outside of hardcore. I mean, like, if your main focus is hardcore, dude, I mean, I know a fucking show. A lot of people are social climbers, you know, not trying to like be like that dude or anything, but it's like, dude, have like a different hobby outside of this, you know. Don't care about what people think about you. Obviously be a good person. But yeah, I mean, like, it gets old watching people just use you or use your friend just for, you know, like another rung in the social ladder. You know what I'm saying? That's just
No, you make a good point, and I can't stand that kind of shit. I can size up within 2 minutes basically what a person is all about when I meet them, and when it's that gross, like, friendship as transaction or social climbing thing, I'm like, ugh, this is not somebody I need to talk to.
yeah. No, and unfortunately there's a lot of that.
Oh my God.
In this subculture, and honestly, in most subcultures, there's a lot of that, and
Oh, in any scene. Any scene,
it's rife with it. In fact, I hate to say this, but I think a good majority of the scene is built upon that. There's that social climbing, that people that kind of instigate things or bring things about. And I think that there's only a handful of really genuine people that are involved in it. And the rest of people are there to take some pictures and, you know, be like, oh, I met this person who can do X for me, and then I can transfer this to Y. And it's like, fuck you. Fuck you. I was thinking about this, James. I think you brought up David Goggins, and you guys opened the EP with that that clip from Rocky Balboa.
Yep.
Can I suggest using a David Goggins quote for the next one? Because that's that type of like music that when you get in that mindset, if you guys aren't familiar with him, he's the one that came up with the 40% rule. When your body is telling you to quit, you're only 40% done. It's a mental game. It's
we're
about
huge fans of David Goggins.
Dude.
Huge fans.
I don't know if you noticed this, but the first track, Taking Souls, is a David Goggins. It's a coined term by him.
He talks about that with runs all the time. I'm out there taking souls.
Yeah. So there's that. That's definitely an ode to him. And then in the song True Self, there's a lyric where I said, callousing my mind. And that's also from David Goggins. But my original plan that the band thought was too silly, so I obliged. But my original plan was I wanted to have David Goggins doing like a motivational speech over the intro breakdown, but they didn't want to do it.
That sounds kind of cool.
I'm into it.
Wait, by the way, who is David Goggins? Like, what's his deal?
He's the baddest motherfucker ever born. He's a retired Navy SEAL, but his story, he's got a book called Can't Hurt Me. And that's definitely a common theme in this band too. We're all real big Goggins fans, but to put it short, he's just the most like motivational man like on planet Earth. He's definitely became a bit of a meme for sure. Unfortunately, I mean, he's got like 4 million followers, but he's just a dude that had a rough upbringing and was super fat and just like complacent in life. And he, became a Navy SEAL and just like he says, he just defied the odds and just realized that he had so much more. I mean, he ran 100 miles with broken legs. He's done
4,000 pull-ups in 17 hours.
Yeah, the world record at one point. He's a fucking maniac. He's absolutely insane.
His whole thing is about mindset, Keith. It's all about like we lie to ourselves and say we're done or we're giving up. And his whole point is don't take the easy way out of anything. The obstacle is the way. Like he tells this whole story about like he used to go on runs when he was in the military and they would know the starting point and the ending point. And people used to get excited when they would see the ending point. And sometimes the officers would lead them past that. And he would go, I'm so glad they fucking went past it because you could hear people breaking. You could hear people in the back going like, we were supposed to stop back there. Why the fuck are we still going? And he's like, I'm done running when I'm done. Not when the fucking finish line comes. I'm fucking done when my body gives up. That's when I'm fucking done. So it's a very, again, like motivational kind of speaker guy.
All right, so let's talk about what's coming up. We've got the EP out, right? Do we have plans for new releases? Do we have anything else planned beyond that show? Let's talk about it.
So we've got like a few skeletons for sure. Nothing really set in stone. I think we've been toying with maybe a split with another band next, and then after that, maybe do another EP. I doubt we'll ever get an Ends of Sanity LP, to be completely honest. I just don't know if we have that much in the tank. I also think people get really bored. I think shorter releases do a bit better if you're not like a real full-time band, at least. But yeah, we've got that one show, and honestly, man, like we were going to do a little weekend tour around it, but it's not working out logistically. Just with like, so Magnitude's going to be on tour for like a month right before we have that show, so he can't take any more time off work. So ideally, we'd play, hopefully a fest sometime soon. I'd love to. I'm working on potentially something like that for the winter. So nothing crazy. We're definitely going to be one of those bands where if you want to see it, it's going to have to be like in our hometown, maybe on a weekend run or like a one-off fest, but definitely not going to be doing like heavy touring if at all.
Well, listen, Tommy and I really enjoy the EP. We're glad you put it out. We're glad we got to speak to you today, and we're looking forward to more. So James, Ian, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to speak with us tonight.
Dude,
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us.
Yeah, gentlemen, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And again, the release is just absolutely excellent. So again, keep making music and you guys rule. So thank you.
There you have it, folks. Ends of Sanity. That was a great conversation. It was really nice to talk to James and Ian. I like how mature they sound for how young they are, because you know what? They're like, yeah, we put this EP together. We'll play when we can. We have some other stuff going on. They sound really level-headed. I love when people that young are that level-headed, because I didn't get my shit together till I was 35.
I think he nailed one of the things. I think it was Ian said it, and he goes, I don't know if we have that much in the tank. Because like when you're in a band and you get even like a little bit of success, I know when we were younger, like I would have gone crazy with that, being like, we're going to put out 3 full lengths and it's going to be a picture disc. Like I would have gone to the nth degree with it. There would have been no humility in it. I would be so excited about it. It would just be like, let's go full bore with everything.
Yeah, these guys have put out this one EP in January. It sounds like they're getting great show offers. There's articles, there's reviews, there's podcast interviews. If I got all of that from my EP that I put out, my head would have exploded. I would have been like, "Oh my God, it's happening!" and I would have acted like a maniac. And these guys are just being really level-headed about it, and I think that's really cool.
I think a large part of it is because James works in the industry. He's able to temper that. Like, all right, I know what real touring is like. I know how encompassing it is, and I know how much time it actually takes up.
Right.
Like, I think having that kind of basis in like, hey, this is what I do for a living. Therefore, I know what my real limitations are. That's huge.
Yeah. He's already done it. He's 27. He's managing bands. He's working with bands. He's got a kid. Ian, he's already toured a bunch. He's 25. So they're like veterans already.
Oh, yeah.
But a great EP, folks. Check it out. We're going to add some tracks to our Spotify playlist. Look it up, The Northeast Scene 2021, and real pleasure to talk to. So, as I alluded to in the first segment, now, Tommy and I had some conversations recently, and it was tough. Like, let me set the stage for you a little bit. Now, we've talked about some of this before, but there's a lot of preparation that goes into this show. We don't just flip on the mics and, like, screw around. There's research. There's preparation, there's mapping out times per segment, there's bullet points of things to hit. There's a lot that goes into the show, a lot of preparation. We take it very seriously. And part of taking it seriously is having very real conversations with each other, because we want to keep developing. We want to keep getting better. We want the show to keep getting better. We want your enjoyment of the show to increase. And, Tommy and I will have very real conversations about how we think we're doing, and it's tough. It introduces a new element to our friendship that didn't exist before, and Tommy was alluding to this in the last episode. Like, our friendship was just about jokes and Simpsons quotes and, making each other feel good and occasionally talking about some serious stuff. And now because we have this podcast, there's this new element where creative decisions are made and we have to, there's disagreements and we have to come to agreements. It can be really tough.
Keith and I had a very serious discussion directly after we recorded on Monday night of last week, and I got heated. I don't like having conversations with Keith that, again, like as he said, don't revolve around something serious. When it gets into that serious territory and it's not like something serious that we share, and it was about the show, I got really upset, and to the point where I literally walked because I was like, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm not starting the car. I walked to 7-Eleven just to cool off, and I haven't had a nicotine vape thing in a long time, and I went and bought one of those disposable ones. Because I was so mad. I wasn't even mad. I think I was more upset because I always think about our friendship, and I felt like the discussion we had was like, it wasn't necessarily about our friendship, and it was about the show and the good of the show.
First of all, I felt horrible that you picked up a vape again. I was like, look what I'm doing to poor Tommy. But no, it wasn't a crazy conversation. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a fight per se.
No.
This has just never happened before. Like I barely slept that night, because it was just so weird. Like we've never had to do this. We have like business conversations now. It's just strange. It's funny if you think about it.
It is, and it's also it's almost like starting a business with your friend. Like you guys are both interested in music. Let's start a record store, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh fuck, we have bills to pay. We have to make sure the ordering is done correctly, and it's like, you just wanted to have fun and talk about music and play with records with your friend, and now you're
but there's responsibilities. It's like, well, why didn't you pay the bills? What do you mean? Like I wasn't supposed to. Like why didn't you order the records? What do you mean? I don't like you have to like sit down and figure out like who's doing what and all this stuff, and it's interesting. I'm going to say this. The only other time I've had serious conversations are in relationships, right? And I'm talking relationships with women I've been involved with.
Yeah.
Those usually did not go well. And not for lack of trying. Let's just say not everybody is capable of having a calm adult conversation. How about that?
Yeah, just that being civil about it.
Yes.
And I think a lot of what I come back to is...
Well, hold on a sec. Let me finish this. When I talked to Tommy, it was like two adults. It was like I said my piece, he said his piece. At the end, we came together, and I was so happy. Like, I couldn't sleep, but I still went to bed so happy because it ended on a positive note. To be able to sit with you and have an adult conversation and come to an agreement and everything is fine, that was so great. I've never had that before.
It was nice to have a conversation where we both sat down and said, I feel like this, you feel like this. What are we going to do about it to make sure that we don't have this type of issue in the future?
Yeah.
And it was literally like, all right, here's the problems we're having. Cool. Let's come up with solutions rather than rehashing. You did this, or I did this, or he said that. Nope. Let's figure out what we're going to do about it to fix it.
Yeah.
And it was super productive, but at the same time, like you said, it's definitely, it added a very cool dynamic to our relationship that we definitely haven't had before.
Yes, Tommy, think of this like a marriage. We're in this forever. You're stuck with me. That's it. You're all I have.
I say that to Kelly all the time. I'm like, yo, you fucking signed a piece of paper. Good luck with that shit. Because forever. Like, this is how long you're in it. So, Keith made that really clear when we were done speaking. He's like, you can't ever go anywhere. So, I can't
do this show by myself. I wouldn't. The show is us. That's what sets it apart. But listen, everything is great. I'm happy that we are at the finish line because I always get nervous before we record, but that's part of the deal. That's what I noticed. That's a thing now. It's actually a little annoying. Whenever I have to do something, like when I leave the house to go do things and meet up with other people, I have this sinking, sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I'm really irritated because I'm like, I know that this is going to happen, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I know that when I get to where I'm going to be fine, but just having to sit with this uncomfortable feeling is really annoying.
I think that's part of maturing, though, is learning how to deal with stuff that's uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's progress, man.
So have you heard? I've heard that vaccinated people are getting COVID now. I know of a couple.
Yeah, I've heard of that for a while. I think they call them breakthrough cases.
Yeah, I don't want that though.
My thing is that like if you are vaccinated, my understanding is that the severity of what you will get with COVID is clearly not that severe and usually will not involve hospitalization, barring the fact that you have any type of other comorbidity factors. Yeah, it's really. I'll be honest, with like school closing down last week and going back to full remote at school, we're all a little on edge.
Can you imagine if we have to start talking about the pandemic again on the show? Our ratings are going to tank. People are sick of hearing about it.
Well, can we do like we'll have to do like this week in positive news. We'll do like positive affirmations. Like we'll have to come up with new segments because we can't talk about everybody. We've heard it for the last year and a half, right? Like,
yeah, I'm over it.
I'm so over it. I'm glad to be able to go back into stores. Actually, not to go back to the Costco story, but when I was in Costco, I was very pleasantly surprised. The vast majority, overwhelming majority of people in the store had masks on.
Oh, that's good.
Not most of them wearing them properly. Tons of them under people's noses. However, still rocking them. So I was like, all right, I feel better.
Well, remember when your boy Ricky Schroeder refused to wear a mask into Costco and he said he was canceling his membership and encouraging others to do so? You could never forgive him for that, right?
I haven't watched Silver Spoon since.
I haven't watched Silver Spoons ever.
I think I watched like 3 episodes. That was like one of those ones that was like on the same time as like Small Wonder and all that. I didn't like any of those shows.
I mentioned it in segment 1 real quick, but I watched a documentary on Netflix about Bob Ross, the painter. It's called Bob Ross Secrets and Happy Accidents or something like that. I'm a little annoyed because all of the marketing for the documentary makes it sound like Bob Ross had this salacious, horrible secret that he's been keeping from everyone, and there's all this dark stuff it's going to reveal. But that's not the case. They go into his life, they trace a lot of his life, and some of the horrible business dealings he's had with his company. But I don't know. It was good. I recommend it. And then after that, I watched the Bob Ross channel on Twitch and watched him paint. And I've always liked him since I was like 9 years old. It's a very calming, nice thing to watch.
Would you recommend the documentary?
Oh yeah.
He was like a Vietnam vet, right? He was a Vietnam vet, and I remember somebody putting out an article, and they were like, he didn't like the afro. He wanted to stop doing the perm.
Yeah, he didn't want that, but it was already attached to him, so he couldn't get away from it.
Yeah, and that was basically the bad parts, right?
Well, they said he had an affair with the woman he was in business with. That was the worst thing. I mean, it was the 70s. Didn't everyone do that?
I don't know. I wasn't alive.
Yeah. We're so young, Tommy. We're so young and vibrant.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I cracked my back the other day and I didn't get up off the floor for like 3 minutes. I have one of those yoga wheels and I just cracked the shit out of my back and I just laid there like, ugh.
When we were interviewing Ends of Sanity, did Ian call us old? Did you catch that?
He did. He did.
He's 25 though.
He was like, y'all are old.
When you're until you breach your 30s, everything seems really old. Like when I was in Crash of 64, I think I was 28 and Pat was 34, and I thought that was old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and now we're like, I don't know, 39 and whatever, and I'm like, oh, we're the same age.
Yeah, my daughters do that with. I think when you're a little kid and when you're a teenager and you're kind of in that adolescence, kind of like 20s thing, everybody that's over a specific age is just old to you. Like my daughters, whenever they meet someone that's 10, they're like, that kid's old.
Yeah.
But like to us, I met someone that's 50 right now, I'll be like, they're not that old.
Exactly.
And they're 10 years my seniors. So like, I'd be like, fuck it, man. Like that's not that old. I think you just get to a certain point where you just go, look, I've accepted the position I'm in life and I'm okay with everybody else's as well.
Yeah. Once I breach 35, I'm like, yeah, we're all basically the same age. Unless you're like 17, that's really young.
I have students that come to pick up younger siblings and they like run, they're like, hey, Mr. So-and-so, how are you doing? And they're like, I just turned 19. And I'm like, oh Lord,
You were still an audience of one when you were 19.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, 100%. It was still an audience of one. Yeah. Yeah.
That seems like 3 lifetimes ago.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, more than that. There's, if you really think about it, 2 decades have passed since that. I've changed every 5 years. I'm basically a new person. So yeah, that's it. When I meet someone that's 17, 18, 19 years old and they say like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm like, yeah, you'll figure it out. Like, I'm going to be an astronaut. All right, well, we'll see. Let's talk in a decade. Let's see how you're doing with that.
Well, that's it. That's our show. We hope you enjoyed it. So thank you again to James and Ian from Ends of Sanity. Check out the EP if you haven't yet. It's a banger. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And until next time.